So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, we've got an awesome guest. My guest has worked opposite Colin Firth, Minnie Driver, Ashton Kutcher, and most recently, Michelle Monaghan. With over 30 years in the industry, it's the wonderful June B. Wilde. June, welcome to the show, my love.
Thank you, Brian. It's wonderful to be here. I'm very, very happy to be here.
And I'm really excited because the film that we're going to be talking about, looks amazing. I haven't had a chance to watch it, and I'm actually going to watch it tonight after this interview. So I'm really excited because the trailer is just so intense. But we're going to talk about that. But before we do, the last couple of years have been quite intense, to say the least, with everything going on in the world, with the pandemic and other things as well. I mean, how have you kept positive and moving forwards? Because as a working actor, it's got to be quite difficult. I mean, did you change any aspects of your job in the way of what you did, on Zoom or anything like that? I mean, how did you cope over the last 2 years?
That is a big question, Brian. But I'll make it as concise as I can. So when, obviously when, the rug was pulled from under our feet, like we literally, nobody was working. This was a global thing. So it wasn't like we weren't just working, nobody was working. And I just remember a moment, and I decided that I had two roads to take, and I was really clear on that. And so I decided that I was going to take the opportunity to really use the time that I had. So I did everything healthy. I did, and not that I'm not already, but I mean, I just, brushed off the cobwebs, which I think a lot of people were doing a lot of dusting, and cleaning. But I did. I literally cleaned everything up in my life, and it was a great opportunity to just kind of brush off the past and dust everything off and really get present. So it's interesting because I would say to people, my friends, I'd say, I'll see you on the other side. And they knew what I was up to. And coming out of COVID, what should I book? I booked blood. So I had another, we did some reshoots on To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and then I did this 2-month gig in Winnipeg. So, I kind of liked it. It was a wonderful opportunity to really connect with my husband more than we have, and just really get clear on what it is that I wanted for my life. So, yeah.
I mean, one of the positives as well from, that time, that 2 years, is that it's obvious that we're getting some amazing writing. We're getting amazing, creative projects from that time that is coming to light now. And, we've learned a lot of lessons over that time. And I suppose, I've had guests in the past that have actually questioned their choices in working in the industry, because obviously they had to change and adapt. I mean, what was your biggest lesson learned over, the 2 years, the pandemic time?
My biggest lesson was to shut out the outside noise, which it's always there, whether there's a pandemic or not. But if we want something, there's always going to be distractions, and there's a way of still being aware of what's going on and cognizant of that, because I think that's important, but not to spend too much time in that. Yeah. And just focus on, on the bigger picture. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when we're talking about your career, so let's rewind right to the beginning, because it's one of the most competitive industries to get into, and you've got to be so determined. I mean, why acting? I mean, what sparked you to go into that direction of such a competitive industry to get into?
Well, I mean, Brian, I've always known I wanted to be an actor. I mean, I was 8 and I stood on stage and I did something and people laughed and I was in. And there was really no turning back. And people tried to stop me from doing it, but they weren't successful. So I've always been in this industry. I don't know anything else. So, for me, for me, I started in the theater. So for me, it's really about the work. I'm really not as focused on, the stardom and like all that stuff is fine. When it comes, it's lovely. It truly is, but it's not my focus. My focus isn't that. My focus is the work. I love acting. And, people have often said to me, gosh, you're not jaded. And I'm not, because I love it, and so, a lot of people get out of the industry and I'm not really ever going to do that. So, yeah, yeah.
I mean, obviously, we see you on screen giving these, astonishing performances, and we often think as audiences that the job of an actor is very glamorous, and we see you on the red carpets and everything like that. I mean, how glamorous is your job, and what's the most unglamorous part of being an actor?
Oh my God. Do you know how hard it is to be on a red carpet? That's actually a lot of work. I had a couple of films up at the Whistler Film Festival, and I was jumping from red carpet to red carpet and changing outfits in between, and it was exhausting. What is the most glamorous, or is it glamorous? Ask me the question again.
Yeah, so what's the, I mean, obviously we think it's all glamorous because obviously we see these red carpets and everything like that, and you've obviously just said that it is a lot of our hard work to go from one red carpet to another. But really, how glamorous is it? And what's the most unglamorous part of the job that, viewers like myself and the audience may not realise that actually it isn't glamorous?
It's from the time that that an actor gets the audition, and then everything changes, and it's about this focus, and then we have to learn dialogue. And I always say the work in this industry is to learn dialogue and to learn 10 pages in 12 hours. I mean, that's work. I always say this too. I think that the stars probably have more of a glamorous time on set, but it's work. I mean, we shoot for long hours, and after a 15-hour day, we come home, and somehow we have to have that regime where we can get ourselves to bed, get back up after 5 hours, and go back to set, and then know how to take care of ourselves on set, which it means a lot of water, really, is to stay hydrated, and what to eat so that we have, energy to bring to our performances. So it's a, I know I've heard a lot of young actors say, I want to be an actor so I never have to work again. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But,
good luck with that.
Yeah. So, and also, like, well, it's all the training and the money that it takes to train. And in the beginning, having to work another job while we're getting a job, and that's not easy. Most people have one job. Most actors have what, five or something like that, right? So yeah,
Oh,
it's not a walk in the park. I mean, I always say it's if you have to do this, well, then you have to do this. If you don't, you probably shouldn't. Yeah.
I
So
mean, when starting out in the industry, did you have a plan, and do you have a plan in place in what you want to achieve as an actor?
well, I mean, my goal is the series. I want to be on a series. I've always wanted to be on a series. I never really knew what kind of series, but now I'm really, I've gotten a better idea of what I want to do. But I really like, at this point in my career, I really like the feeling of going to one place. Not really, there's many different locations, but knowing who I'm working with. um, Cast members become family. They really do. And there's a real camaraderie. And if you're working with some really great people, that's amazing. So yeah, my goal is now, and has always been, really, really regular work.
Mm.
You know, yeah, and
Um,
just being able to go to one place, right?
I mean, you have done so much stuff over the 30 years that you've been in the industry, from The Exorcist, which was one of my favourite shows. It was amazing, and I can't believe it stopped, and I just wanted more. I really did. And this is the
Oh,
annoying thing about shows now, is that they're stopping just as they're peaking, and it leaves the audience wanting more. But from starting out to now, how have you noticed the industry change? Because especially, for women in the industry as well, from starting out many, many moons ago to now, have you noticed a positive change? And how does the industry look now compared to back then?
um, I mean, just getting back to The Exorcist, I'm with you 100%. And yeah, you had one of your actors from the UK,
Mm?
and he was brilliant. That
Mm.
those two male leads were extraordinary actors. So I just wanted to backtrack there. Um, it's changed. I mean, I don't know if I see any change. I don't focus on things like how many roles are there for women. I don't really get involved in a lot of dialogue like that. I'm not interested in that. I think that we can create whatever we want, and
Mm.
um, I just don't see that. I mean, there's been, I mean, obviously, there's a big change in the style of acting, you know, after so many, reality shows. The style of acting is really like, audiences know when somebody's acting. So
Mm.
it really, stylistically, it's changed a tremendous amount.
Mm.
And so, it's more of a really real delivery now. Yeah.
Mm.
So, mhm.
Yeah, I mean, again, I suppose with the world of streaming and all these platforms, it's just that I don't know, shows, back 20, 30 years ago, I think had more of an impact. I think now the problem is that you have such great writing, such great direction. I think some things can get lost within all this content. So it's really nice when you see certain shows like The Exorcist really shine through, and show off talent like yours and the directors and the rest of the cast. But let's talk about your most recent project, because literally, if people don't realise, this film looks absolutely immense from the trailer. It's blood, and it's from director Brad Anderson, who's very well known for directing lots of stuff. I mean, his credits are amazing. If you could talk us through what the movie's about and whom you play.
Okay. Well, I mean, the movie is about Jess, who is played by Michelle Monaghan, and she is newly separated from her husband. So she moves her two young children to her old farmhouse. And from there, um, well, from there, everything deteriorates into terror. The family dog bites her son Owen and gives him a horrific infection, and so Jess's morals are tested when, like, the only cure to keep her son alive proves really deadly, and
Mm.
there's a lot of blood. My character Helen, I've been struggling on how to answer that question. I really have, because I don't want to give the movie away. And I really want the fans to have that element of surprise, because it really does come as the whole idea around Helen is a bit of a shocker. And so I was struggling I with how to answer that. So I thought to myself, why don't I approach that from the angle of how what I think of the character Helen.
Mm.
And she's extraordinarily strong-willed. She's not a pushover. And those are the kinds of roles that I love playing. I love playing strong women and strong characters. But and and it's almost like a Blood is a horror film, but it's a little bit of a love story, which I'm a sucker for a love story. And there's so many elements to Helen that that trigger and really challenge Jess in her moral decisions about how far she will go to save her son. And again, at the end of the day, she's trying to save her son's life, which
Mm.
is about a mother's love for her son. So again, it just sort of keeps coming back to that, right? So yeah, I mean, it was a multi-leveled, multi-dimensional character that just required everything that I had to get that job done. And so much fun to play. So much fun.
I mean, obviously, from the trailer, if anyone watches it, it's literally straight from the beginning, so intense. You know it's going to be on the edge of your seat kind of film. I mean, how challenging was it for you as an actor? Because the scenes that we see in the trailer with you are very intense. I mean, how challenging was that? To go into. I mean, do you enjoy those challenging roles more? I mean, how did that go on screen?
Well, I mean, the more challenging it is, Brian, the better it is for me. So I went all in. It was extraordinarily challenging. It was challenging mentally. It was challenging physically. It was challenging emotionally. And, Michelle Monaghan, I mean, I've worked with a handful of actors in that, what I would call that category of they're such great actors, but they're also incredible human beings. And the whole way through, I really felt like she had my back. Michelle had my back. And I remember one day I remember one day it was lunchtime. And after lunch, she said, "Oh my gosh, I was so hungry." We had started at like 6 a.m. or something. And we went through this. When you see the movie, you'll see what I mean. This whole gamut of, of emotional stuff. And she just was so grounded. I just I'm so lucky to have worked with her. I really, truly, truly am. I'm not sure that this movie, well, it wouldn't be what it is without her, and it would not be what it is without Brad Anderson.
Mm.
And also Bjorn, I think you say his last name Charpentier. I'm not sure, but that's as close as I can get. He was the cinematographer, and I'm telling you, they work as a team. They've worked before. So everything on set was the reason that we were able to do it is because there was just this camaraderie. People, to crew, cast, or the crew, everybody tuned into the fact that we were creating this thing, and everybody was working as a whole. There wasn't somebody that was off doing something. Everybody was working, and everybody was working hard. So,
I mean, what was your favorite memory of working on the show without spoiling anything? I mean, was there? I mean, obviously you said about working with Michelle. I mean, was there a certain day that will always stay with you?
well, it's a funny one. I got to do most of my own stunts, which I was so happy to do. And it was, we were on a night shoot. The stunt coordinator had made sure that he cleared the path. But he knew there was one spot that I might find, but likely not. And so I obviously found the spot and tripped and fell and got up and finished the scene. And at the end, everybody was so concerned that I was hurt. And I could not stop laughing, Brian. I was in hysterics. I could not stop laughing. And I said to them, you'd better use that. You'd better use that in the film. And I'm not sure that they did, though. But it was, yeah. I mean, I was still laughing the day after. I could not stop. Don't know why I found that so funny, but it was. To me, it was. So at the end of the shoot, the stunt coordinator presented me with a toque from Skeen Stunts. And he said that, not everybody gets one of those. And my driver actually said that is true. Not everybody gets one of those. So I feel very honored to have been gifted with, a Skeen Stunts toque, right? So if I, yeah.
And that could be another direction for you, stunts. Who knows? Another feather to your bow, as they say.
No, those people are crazy. No, not ever in my lifetime. I don't know about you, but that stuff is crazy.
Yeah, I mean they do some marvelous things.
Oh yeah, on Batwoman. Gosh, it takes like 2.5 hours to choreograph the whole thing, or at least they've already done that to rehearse it. Mm. Yeah, I don't want to go to work and maybe die.
So what can viewers expect from this movie? In a nutshell, I mean, what can they expect to walk away with from this movie?
Well, what they can expect to walk away with is suspense, thrill, and a lot of blood. And what I'm hoping fans will walk away with is it really, although it is a horror movie at the end of the day, like I've been ranting on and on about, it really is a love story about what a mother will do to save her child. I mean, that's what I'm hoping that people will walk away with. But it really does keep you on the edge of your seat for sure.
And it's out now for everyone to watch. It's out in the UK, I know, on Amazon, because as I mentioned earlier on to you, I'm actually going to watch the movie straight after this interview. So I'll be posting about it, and I can't wait. I've never been a massive fan of horrors, but there's certain horrors that I think that if it's got like a psychological, or it's not just gore, it's got a good story behind it. I think that's what I really get excited about. And from this trailer, it's just that, you want to find out more about the characters, and I want to find out about Helen, because obviously you're keeping your cards close to your chest, as they say. So I cannot wait. June, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much for coming on and speaking about blood and a bit about your career at the beginning. Look after yourself and stay super.
I will too, and you as well. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.